Welcome to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show with me, Brenda Hector. I'm a business growth specialist helping business owners to develop themselves and grow their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. I'm also on a mission to revolutionise the entrepreneurial landscape for women in business. In every podcast episode, I interview someone who has an inspiring story or some great advice for women aiming to start or scale their businesses. If you're new to the show, take a moment to subscribe and please check out the previous ones after listening to this. We've got an awesome community on Facebook. Just search for Scale Her Up and join in. So I'm absolutely delighted today to welcome Laura Friedl-Hirst of LFH Regulatory to the Scale Her Up podcast. Welcome, Laura. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Brenda. And it's a great opportunity to obviously have this chat with you.
Yeah, no, it's really good to have you here. So let's just, for an introduction for the listeners, tell us your story and how you got into business.
Okay, so essentially, I suppose I could start from when I first left school. I didn't have any qualifications. I had GCSEs and decided to go into the world of work. From that, I ended up packing boxes for a living and decided that I didn't want to end up like some of the ladies I were working for minimum wage. And essentially, being spoken to in a manner that's not really acceptable. So I got speaking to a lady that was probably in her 40s at the time, and she was doing a women into science degree. Essentially, at the time, I looked in the local paper and there was a science foundation degree in there. I applied for it and essentially passed the exam and got accepted in there. So I went on to do a science-based degree and decided to do medical biology. During that time, I did a placement year, and I didn't know what regulatory affairs were at the time, and essentially just went with it because it was a paid placement. I was a little bit of an old student and had a mortgage to pay, and went and did a 12-month placement with that company. So naturally, when I came out from university and graduated, I decided to go into the world of regulatory affairs.
Can I stop you there? And just, You didn't know back then what that was, and I still don't really know now. So maybe a little bit of an explanation of what regulatory affairs is.
Yeah, so it's very difficult to kind of put it in a nutshell, but essentially it's making sure that medical devices and in vitro diagnostics comply with the regulations. So there's a regulation for medical devices and in vitro diagnostics, and essentially we work with manufacturers to bring new product to market or remediate those products as well if there's certain areas they're not complying with, and just make sure that them products are staying on the market and they're safe and perform as intended, basically.
Okay. So regulating medical equipment.
Yeah, so we're not essentially regulating it, but what we're doing is we're helping companies to comply with that regulation. And we advise as a consultancy business.
Okay. So back to your story then. Yes. So you finished the degree.
Yes. So essentially then I went into the world of work and I did a few different jobs. I did commute for a living. And I think, the final company I worked with before I decided to go into the world of business and self-employment, it wasn't the best experience that I had. And it made me question my own ability at the time. And essentially, there were no work-life balance for me. And now for me, I obviously do have two children now, but at the time I had one daughter. And essentially, I was commuting, I'd set off at about 6 a.m. and I wasn't home till about 6:30. And, I was just so tired and it just wasn't any way to live really. So that's when I decided, you know what, I don't know everything, but who does know everything in this industry? They don't. And even now I'm still learning. So essentially I took the plunge and actually went into the world of contracting at the time. And it's just blossomed from there, really, from contracting into a consultancy.
So how long ago was it that you started contracting?
So I set up the limited business I started contracting, in June of 2019, the beginning. So the 1st of June is when I initially started.
Mm-hmm. And how's it been in business then? Obviously, there's been some challenges to most businesses over the last few years, but how's it been? How have you grown it?
Well, it's actually within this industry, and I appreciate a lot of businesses have been impacted by COVID, but for us in kind of the medical device industry, that hasn't been the case. We have grown rapidly. Essentially, there has been a lot of changes in the industry as well around Brexit. That brings a load of new complexities into the mix when we look at kind of the regulation in the UK for medical devices, but also as well because in the industry they're moving away from directive to regulation. So there's that transition that manufacturers are needing to do. So essentially at the moment the industry is very busy, and I can't say that we're actually impacted by Brexit at all.
Yeah. So how have you built a team now? You've got a number of people around you.
Yeah, so at the moment we are a team of 5. Mm-hmm. This has just happened. So the first member of the team, he joined me back in February of last year. And we have just made an offer to another person to come and join us on a permanent basis. But as a business as well, we also utilise contractors, and they come in and work with the business as well, who work with our clients. So yeah, so we've rapidly grown over that time period, and it's just crazy.
Crazy good though.
Crazy, yeah, crazy good. Yeah, it's crazy good, obviously. But you know what? Without the team, and I tell them this all the time, without the team, essentially, the business wouldn't be where it is right now.
So many people that I talk to, the team is the most important resource within the business. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, they are the most important. And again, I say this, if they weren't there, the business wouldn't be kind of where it is and working with the clients that we have, because it's just something as a one person company, I just wouldn't be able to do.
Fantastic. So what are the ambitions? Where are you growing the company? What are your goals?
Sometimes I sit and I think, I don't know, Brenda. I just go with it. I'm not, when I kind of came into this, my expertise around regulatory equality, and I don't proclaim to be a business expert. I'm learning every day with it. But what I can see is that, we do see opportunities, and the team help me identify this as well and help grow the business. And, they buy into it. The buy-in from the teams is absolutely amazing. But again, we work together as a team, and, there's things that we're establishing internally. We've just recently had a 2-day team meeting as well to discuss potential business development lead. So yeah, so these things kind of, we're moving in certain directions where, we are building our clientele and assisting with them with their requirements. But we are also looking at expanding as well, kind of into the clinical side of things.
So good, great plans.
Yes.
Yeah. Watch the space.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's been your biggest success in business so far?
It's a difficult one, I think, but I think just the fact that, I think it just speaks volumes, the fact that we are growing at such a rapid rate. And I think for me, starting out in business was all about making sure and maintaining a work-life balance. And I think I like to do that, for the team, essentially. So, that to me is a big achievement, is having that happy workforce.
And work-life balance there, is that part of the culture of your organisation? Is that something that's there for everyone? Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Because the thing is for me, and I think I said this earlier, essentially, working for big corporate companies, I don't think, even though they have these core values and they say that, it's all about work-life balance and it's this and it's that, isn't necessarily there. If people are honestly, if they're completely honest around it. Whereas for myself, some of our team members, they have children, they have, things outside of work, and it's appreciating that and essentially, giving them that flexibility as well and trust, which I think some companies don't do either.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm back to my statement about your team being your most valuable resource. Yes. And looking after them again. Yeah. So tell me, Laura, what advice would you give to someone coming behind you, starting their business and growing their business?
I think for me is, because of my background and, growing up in a working class family and thinking that, I don't deserve to be here, is, have confidence in yourself. You can do it. You're doing an amazing job, and just carry on and go with your gut instinct. Because I think sometimes people overthink things. Whereas for me, I think in business, And I never thought I was, but I think I'm probably quite a big risk taker.
So your advice would be take the risks.
But also listen to your gut as well, because that's what I do. And if something doesn't feel right, then I won't do it.
Very good advice there. Yeah. Yes.
And have confidence. And I think have confidence in yourself. Because the thing is, and the thing I found in this industry is you can sit and people might talk as if they know what they're talking about, but when you actually listen to the words, they don't necessarily do that. And it's all about the confidence aspect.
I would add maybe that the listening to your gut, sometimes it's a lack of confidence that means that you don't listen to your own gut.
Yeah. I think it's instinct. It's understanding and thinking, does this feel right? Should I be going down this route? And certainly for me, when I took on, the first member of the team, I sat and thought, oh, I'm going to have a salary to pay. How am I going to manage that? But the thing is within business, the business that certainly, I work in, it's a fine balance between, resource, having the staff members to fulfill the work that we have. And for me, it's, okay, let's go out and let's get the talented resource that fit in with our business and fit in with our team, because that's one of the things that, to me is a fundamental point when we're recruiting, is making sure that this person fits in, but then go out and get the work. And it determines me as a business owner to go out and source that work to make sure that my team have the work to do, which then allows us to turn over the business and pay the salaries, because that is the main point as a business owner, is making sure essentially you're paying, you're meeting business financials.
So I have this conversation a lot with businesses that are looking to grow and, not sure, do we bring the team on and then we don't have the work to keep them busy or to pay them? Or do we find the work and then we have an awful challenge trying to find the right people to do the work? So it's a chicken and egg thing there. I think what you're saying is that you took the risk and hired the people, and then that made you get out and find the work.
Well, the thing is, that's the way I look at it, because, with a team, you've got to make sure they're not overworking, and certainly for me, when I was an independent contractor, I got to a point and I thought, I can't carry on. I've come into this role to, self-employment, to spend more time with my children, to spend more time, with my family and friends, and have that social aspect. And it wasn't happening. And it's like, it's come to a point where I've got to take the plunge, or I've got to say no, so it was right, let's go with it. And it's amazing because, the first person that came on to the team, he joined the team and he had that faith to join the team, work with me, and he's grown with the business since.
It's an opportunity for the people development as well.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is that, the fact that someone had faith to come and work with me. And then from there, and the rest of the team have done the same, because, we are a small business. We are growing rapidly, which is great. Year on year, our turnover is increasing dramatically. But, essentially it's that I appreciate as well that we can't compete with the big companies around the benefits that they get. All we do as a business, we can kind of compete with the work-life balance and the salary.
Which are benefits.
Yeah.
Work-life balance is a benefit.
Yes.
It's just not necessarily something that you get taxed for. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's not financial. We're not talking like private health and all the rest of it, are we? So maybe you never know, as we grow, Brenda, we might be able to go down that route. Who knows?
And I guess it depends on what the staff want. There's no point offering something to people that they don't see value in.
I think that's the thing. And we try to be, as a business, because I appreciate, and I've been, employed in the past, that I kind of want to be paid the market rate. And I think this is where some employers, if they can get away with it, will get away with it. And then for people, if they don't get the salary that they think they deserve, they don't feel happy about it, and then they move on. And for me as a business owner, bringing people in, I want that buy into the business and I want them to stay with the business. Mm-hmm. So it's about treating them in a way that, and that's kind of how I take on now, going from an employee to an employer.
See it from both sides.
Yes.
Let's move on to some of the other challenges that face women in business, mothers in business. We talked earlier before we came on the call about some additional challenges you have in terms of being in a same-sex relationship with young kids and running your business as well. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so it's funny because, when we work with people and you talk, I think now about being married, people can automatically presume that that means you're married to someone of the opposite sex, should we say. And I think, it's difficult sometimes then when you're working with clients to go, well, actually, when they say about your husband, you have to turn around and say, well, actually, my wife. You can see like eyes widen sometimes around that aspect. So it's having to have that difficult conversation, because I suppose generally in life, you don't go to your parents and go, oh, by the way, I'm heterosexual. And it seems that, you still even now have to kind of come out as being something that's not classed socially as the, would we say, norm in there. So yeah, so I just find it a little bit around that sad that you have to come out as being specific, I don't know, looking at kind of being specifically gay or bisexual or transgender or something, around that you have to announce it to people, because it's automatically presumed essentially that you are in a heterosexual relationship.
Some women that I talk to have never really experienced any discrimination in business or haven't noticed any disadvantage to being female in business, but additionally challenging for you. Just
from being a female or a gay female in business?
Both.
I wouldn't say that I don't feel like I've been disadvantaged, but I don't know if that's because I'm such a strong-willed person and determined, and I have quite thick skin, that I don't necessarily, I don't feel like I've been disadvantaged, but then I don't think I'd allow it for me to be disadvantaged either. Because I suppose the clients that we work with come to us and they understand that, I'm the business owner, and they do deal with me, but they also deal with my staff as well. So I'd like to think that there isn't that, but I do appreciate in certain areas of workplaces where there could be that struggle for people.
So there's no more discrimination for you in business than there is in everyday life?
Well, to be honest with you, Brenda, I think I live in my own little bubble, and I don't see kind of being any different anywhere. And then I think it just shocks me sometimes when people do maybe mention something, but also as well for me, it's about educating people, because we do have 2 children and we have had to go through, IVF treatment, and people obviously always ask the same questions, but it's just about education and, talking about certain terminology to educate them with as well. So I don't mind that kind of people being inquisitive and asking the questions. I just think it's when they automatically presume that it can come a little bit annoying, should we say.
We talk about some of the challenges that we have as women coming from the unconscious bias. So, however much of a feminist I am, there's still some things that have been ingrained through my childhood that, just assumptions that people make, or assumptions that I think I just assumed that it was me that went part-time when I had kids.
Yeah.
And given my time again, I'm not sure I would do it quite the same way as I did back then. They're 17 now, my eldest. So I guess that we're breaking those biases or barriers down, and then the sexuality thing, I guess that's another one that's got a bit further to go to break down.
I think so. And for me, certainly, and like you say, I've always been strong-willed, and I'm not sure if that is my upbringing as well, because, I came from a family where, I had, my mother was a stay-at-home housewife. My dad worked, obviously, the main breadwinner and all the rest of it. And, the woman should stay at home. And certainly, when my mum did go back to work, she did kind of fight to allow her to go back to work, if that makes sense. So for me, I've always been quite strong-willed and determined. And essentially, I think, my upbringing helped me be who I am today, and not kind of go, it's okay because someone's of a different sex, so that means that they have an advantage over the other sex. And it generally in life, for me, no one should have that advantage over anybody.
No.
And I think that's what's kind of spurred me on as well to go, do you know what, I can do this and I will do it.
I'm going to take you back to something that you said just a few minutes ago about, you're in your own little world and you just focus on I can't remember the wording that you used for it, but you just focus on your path and not caring about what other people are are thinking. And I think that's a really good message to be sharing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
This is the thing. If I could go back to myself, like when I think I came out in my early 20s, and if I could go back to that point, because I remember when I told my mum, and I was very like, oh God, about it. And, my mum just went, she just looked at me, she went, I already knew. I don't know why you didn't tell me before. And that were it. My mum's always been very supportive ever since. Obviously, I've got married, we have 2 children. But we just, and sometimes I think when people mention certain things, because we have 2 friends that are together, and essentially I think they kind of come across it a lot more because they're two males. And some of the things they're saying, I don't think about it. I mean, we went away with them for a weekend, and we booked into a little B&B, and they felt uncomfortable about it, whereas I've never thought about it. And I just booked in, and they generally book in with larger hotels, so they kind of, I suppose, fit into the background a little bit more. And I don't know if it's just maybe my personality as well around that. If somebody did have anything to say, then essentially I'd say it back. But it's to be honest, Brenda, it's taken me many years to be this way, and I don't know if that's part of, again, like you're saying, around the acceptance in society, because there is a lot more acceptance now, even from when I came out, what were we talking, like 15 years ago, maybe a bit more, to what, because to what there is then. Because even when you look at things on the TV and certain terminology used around that, it's so much different to what it is now. So yeah, so I'm just trying to think from that, to be honest. And I think now there's a lot more acceptance around sexuality.
Yeah. Like you're saying, the personality or how the individual themselves react to other people's responses. I guess you can't control how other people respond, but you can control how you respond yourself.
I think so. And it's about having confidence, because, very much for me, if people do have an issue with it, I'd rather that they didn't. It maybe sounds very direct, but I'd rather they didn't speak to me.
Yes. Yeah. And in business, if anyone has an issue with your sexuality or our gender, those are the people that I probably don't want to be working with anyway.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, Brenda, and it's looking and going, okay, with clients, because it's got to be, as much as we value business, it's looking and going, is this relationship working between us? Because it's not always going to work with a client. And, if that is their thought process, like you say, would you want to work with that client in the first instance?
Kind of brings us back to that gut instinct.
Yeah.
You probably knew early on that this client relationship wasn't going the way that you wanted it to, but often we persevere because we need the income, or we think that we can turn it round, and when it ends either well or badly, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and you go, I should have known that back then. Yeah,
I think this is the thing, and we have had one incident with a client, and it's nothing to do with sexuality or gender or anything. It's just not worked out. But at the time you think, I should have done this. I should have terminated that many months ago because it hasn't been working. But like you say, you just think, oh well, I'm getting the income, and they keep paying, and they're all right this % of the time, and but in reality, it's like it would have been so much easier to do that and then concentrate on working with clients that want to work with you and appreciate working with you. And I think this is a thing, and that's what I love about being in business as well, is working with the clients that appreciate us, but also we appreciate them.
That so many of the listeners must be nodding like I am, going, yeah, we've all had one of those client relationships or supplier relationships as well, where you persevere with it, and the effort, the energy that you put into that would be so much better spent focusing on the right clients or suppliers instead.
And, I completely agree. And I think this is the thing. And I did sit down and I remember something my accountant told me about, looking and going, is there 3 things you can list that are positive working with them? And if you can't, is that beneficial to you? And I actually sat down and did that. And I went, there's not. This particular client complained every month. I had to go through that complaint each month to deal with them, which took up my time and resource. There's things that I took off the invoice for them as a goodwill gesture. So there's all these things essentially that went on with this client, and it just wasn't a beneficial relationship.
I love that question. I'm going to use that question in my coaching with my clients. Can you tell me 3 things that are beneficial from working with this person or organization?
And the thing is, as well, I think, as you in business, because certainly when you first start out, you think, oh, well, I need this client, I need this client. But like I think you touched upon earlier, it's going, okay, this client isn't working out. Is it costing me money working with this client? How much time is it taking me having to resolve complaints and issues with them? And essentially going, okay, I am going to, and having the strength to go, this isn't working out, and terminating the contract. And essentially putting your time and effort into sourcing new clients and going, okay, where am I at from a marketing perspective? Am I hitting the right markets? Is there any previous clients I've worked with that might need help? And it's looking and trying to come up with a plan instead of wasting resource on clients where that the relationship isn't working.
And
it's just about going out.
Yeah. You said it cost you money, but it also costs you energy and headspace and emotion that will be affecting the rest of your business. So
I think so. And it's about taking out that negative aspect and dealing with it, and then focusing on the positive side of the business, and keeping that positive, attitude to it. And I think, like you say, when you do have your headspace elsewhere, or you are dealing with difficult situations, that can come across, and you don't want that to come across to other clients or even to staff with that. Because I think even though people don't think it does impact their behaviour, it can impact it.
Yeah, absolutely. So turning that on its head then, from the negative people that we're just going to get rid of in the business, who've been the biggest supporters in your business? Or of yourself as a business owner?
Biggest supporters, do you mean as in kind of like in the business, the staff, or do you mean generally like in general life?
Who has supported you as a businesswoman?
So from a support perspective, my wife, she's been so supportive. She's had, she's had every faith in me. She's told me to go with my instincts. Because she could have been, some people could be like, oh, well, you're in paid employment, you're getting paid each month, you've got a salary, blah, blah, blah. She has kind of been the driving force behind that, and she's just told me to go with it. And she didn't proclaim to understand what I do for a living, but and she does look quite bored when I start talking to her about anything. But, if there is any issues, I talk to her about it and use her for sounding board with that. And she has been just from the beginning, even just when I went to, when I went to university and I first graduated, and even just, my placement year, I had to stay away during the week, and she supported that. So she has been an absolute rock for me. And I think as well, because she has been the one, because she runs her own business as well, but she's kind of taken a bit of a step back to do more of the childcare, so I can focus on growing this business, which is absolutely amazing. From that. So, she's given me that 100% support. I think also as well, my family have been very supportive, like my sister and my mum. And my mum's very proud that I've managed to set up a successful business, because, I'm one of the first people in the family to go to university as well with that. So, but I think as well, from a supporting perspective inside the business, all the team members are so supportive, and we all, we discuss a lot of things on how to move forward with the business. But to be honest with you, I think, another sounding board for me is Stuart, who works for me, and he's worked with me. He was the first employee to come on, and literally, he is amazing as a member of the team, and I do use him as a sounding board quite a lot.
So we're right back again to how the team are so important within your business. But I'm going to come back to your wife. Actually, she sounds like she's amazing. What she's how she's doing supporting you in the business and in your career. And we've not even mentioned her name. So can we just mention her name and say, well done for
So she's called Rebecca.
Yeah, well done, Rebecca. Yeah. We all need just like my Brian, my husband. Helping us. It's really difficult to to juggle everything without someone that you can pass a spinning plate to now and again. And
I think this is the thing, and for me, because I've got 11-month-old baby, and as a business owner, I've had to kind of jump in and out. Now the team have helped run the business. They've been absolutely amazing with that to make sure things are turning over. But obviously, as the owner, there's things that I've had to do. So in the first, because when the baby came, I had to have an emergency C-section. It came over a month early. So it was unexpected at the time. But, the team just kind of picked it up, ran with it. So I did have some time off, but I've just gradually gone kind of coming to work more and more and working more where I'm back full time now. I do the odd baby session with him, taken to like baby group where I can. But for me, like I say, Becca's done the majority of the childcare, and it's amazing because I think sometimes people underestimate parents that are, that do the majority of the care, and they think because they don't, it's not kind of, they don't bring in a monetary value, that there's not a value there. And for me, kind of like being a parent never ends, it never stops. Whereas, you work a 9-to-5 job, you finish at 5, you go home, that's it. You don't do that as a parent, and there is trying times. So I think sometimes it's just underestimated.
I couldn't agree more. And also, you don't do 9-to-5 when you're a business owner as well. So the additional challenge of being a parent and a business owner is, so well done you. Yeah.
It's amazing because it's funny because we both sometimes, this is really sad, we're both sat in bed sometimes and I'm working and she's doing her schedules for the week, and it's just like what's our life come to?
Would you have it any other way? Would you go back to employment?
No, I wouldn't. It's one of the best things I've ever done, to be honest, from just an emotional and mental well-being, and even financial as well from that. And it just gives, even though there's times where you think, oh, why have I done this? It's there's stressful points in business, but I don't class it as a negative part. I just class it as a lessons learned, and I deal with it, and then I sit there and think, wow, I've done that and I've dealt with that, and it's a lessons learned.
Absolutely. Many lessons to learn.
Yeah. Still many more to go as well.
So, as you know, the Scale Her Up podcast is here to inspire and motivate women to start or scale their business. What do you think that we can do as individuals or as a community to bring about I call it a revolution, if you like, to get better gender balance in business?
I think that's a difficult one to answer, really. I think it's on the individual, because I think for me, and it's like anything with people that go into business, entrepreneurs, rather they have that mindset or they don't. And I think it can be, like you say, sometimes more difficult being a female in business, but I think it's just having that support network out there and maybe having that presence. Because for me, it's kind of that visibility, showing that, females in business are successful. And I think it's getting the word out, hopefully, to, entrepreneurs of the future. And even people now, because I don't think it's ever too late to set up a business.
It is not.
Even if people are listening now, go out and do it if you feel you can, and have confidence in yourself. You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Totally agree. And it's never too late. There's one of my previous podcast interviews. Look for the interview with Rosie Elliott. She's started her business after completing a career in education, retiring. So anyone can do it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. And I think regardless of your situation or environment, just go with it. Have confidence.
Have confidence. That's the big message from you today. I've got one more question for you, Laura. I ask everybody, just in case, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked you?
I don't know, to be honest, because it's just gone in a whirlwind. But no, I don't think so. I just hope that this hopefully will inspire at least one person.
Yeah, if we can inspire someone to get them, create the motivation within to do something different. And
and you know what? I love talking to people. So if anyone's got any questions, or want any advice, I'm open to it.
So they'll get connected with you on social
LinkedIn.
media or LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being part of the Scale Her Up podcast, Laura. I've absolutely really enjoyed blathering with you today.
And thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and please join our Facebook community at Scale Her Up. Please connect with me, Brenda Hector, on social media and drop me a message to let me know you're enjoying the podcasts, or even better, pop a wee review on iTunes. I'm going to finish by reminding you, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale their business to over 1 million in turnover than women. If we started and scaled our businesses to the same extent as men, it would add 250 billion to the UK economy and provide millions of jobs. Ladies, you can do it, and we're going to make a massive difference.